All right. I'm here for DustCS's ongoing coverage of DreamHack Dallas and ESL Impact, and I am Dallas. And I'm here with this man. Who are you?
Benikage, so caster for a lot of ESL Impact tournaments like Cash Cups and actually other women's tournaments outside of the Impact scene.
And so I don't think it's a stretch to say, I think you're the most obsessive fan of the women's scene on Twitter.com.
Yeah.
What's going on there? How did you become such a ravenous consumer of women's esports, and what led you down this road?
So I was into League of Legends, but League of Legends wasn't holding my interest. MOBA was just kind of a thing. Like I've always bounced between games after the death of my beloved series, which was Unreal Tournament. And I started with League, and then a friend was like, no, you like shooters. This is not going to be something you can commit to full time. So why don't you try CS? And I did, and the first match I wound up watching was the ESWC final between then Team Karma and the just signed CLG Red. It was a great match. CLG won it, and it kind of hooked me on Counter-Strike. And I started following CLG Red from there and watching a lot of their games, and I just got more and more hooked. So,
And what else do you get up to in the scene? What's your main squeeze?
in terms, what do you mean?
What do you do? So you're a caster, but what do who do you work for? What do you do, man? What's up?
I do a little bit of everything. So I do mostly now a lot of the times the Oceanic Cash Cups because there's not really a lot of coverage for those other scenes. So it's kind of in recent years been more dedicated to. It started, I would say, with like the ESEA League seasons. I used to commentate them in like 2019, 2020, and now it's just kind of been like finding where there's not enough coverage and trying to provide coverage. So Oceania, the League of Feminina doesn't have English broadcasting. It for them, everything's Portuguese, so providing English language coverage for that and other events like that.
So I wanted to ask you too. There's been so many changes over the past maybe 3 years to the women's scene. The biggest thing, obviously, is the GG for all and the creation of the Impact scene. How as the most obsessed fan of women's CS in the world, what does that mean for the women's scene?
Well, I think it's great because I think it offers them an opportunity that they don't otherwise have. I think it's very easy to contrast it to 2021 when we didn't have any women's tournaments at all. We had a few independent cups in Europe that were like 1,000, 1,500 euros, they were called ambush seasonal cups, but it wasn't enough to keep teams committed. That's when you saw a lot of the player base in those areas and also in North America kind of move over to the Valorant because that scene was building. So the Impact scene now gives players who really want to commit to CS, who really love CS, the opportunity to pursue it and get something out of it as well, to try and transition it into a full-time career, or even just esports into a full-time career, if that's the opportunities or that's the path that they want to go down.
Awesome. So we've seen, recently that XCLG Red ended up being signed by FlyQuest Red. How big is that for them to find new sustainability?
I think it's huge. I think the most important thing is that CLG is a very storied franchise. They've been around for that team in some iterations has been around for about 2 decades now, right? Starting from Girl Scout game all the way back in like 2002, 2003. So I think to have a team that's become the benchmark in North America and the inspiration for a lot of players, stay around in the scene and compete in the scene and try to continuously push the bar to win tournaments, I think is huge for just the next generation coming up.
Do you think, about a year ago they made the call to transition into an international roster with Kaede and Bibian? Do you think that's the right call?
I think it's a side effect of. I do think it is the right call. I think it's a side effect of what we lost in the scene from not having something like ESL Impact for so long, and I think it kind of really hurt the player base, and the player base wasn't devoting time to Counter-Strike because there wasn't anything in there for them. So I think if CLG look at it and say we want to be competitive, it's a name that has to be competitive. That's the expectation. So they went and got the pieces that they needed to be competitive, and I think those pieces were internationally.
All right, and then last question for you. Mnmzzz Galaxy is the unstoppable juggernaut of the Impact scene.
Yeah.
Is be real with me. Don't sugarcoat it for the fans at home.
Oh,
don't even sugarcoat it for the European fans. I don't care. Is there anyone who can really take them down right now?
Yes, NIP have, although they didn't make this land. Navi is probably going to take them down at this land. And I think if anybody watched that semifinal, they realized a few of those rounds go other ways for B4, they can take them down too. So I think there's a chance that Nigma also kind of retain that spot because obviously they changed their coach. They lost JTR, went to Brazil. But I think the important thing is, as they're working out the new system that their coach is providing, yes, Nigma can maintain the #1 spot in the world and be that dominant force. But right now, they're very vulnerable, and there's a lot of teams that want to take them down.
All right, thank you so much for your time. Let's get back to the action.